So, a good morning, good evening, good afternoon to you, wherever you might be in the world. Welcome to our very first yarning video for 2025. Now, if you're a newbie to the channel, in case you're not aware, I'm Anah and I am the channel creator and the content creator. And on this channel, I share with you information that I've picked up along the way over the last 25 years. And I do invite you to share your information and experiences as well, quite simply because what is my experience may not be yours, and vice versa. And when we put it all together, we have a greater collective of information. Anyway, before we get into the content for today, which is the chit chat and channel update, just a reminder for the regulars that all of my videos do have those timing stamps or the chapters in them, so that you can jump ahead to any of the content at any time that is of interest to you. And if it doesn't sound interesting, you can just move on, especially if I end up going down that old rabbit warren or a path or a tangent, veering off from the actual original direction, shall we say. So before we get into the channel update, and of course my little chitter chat a bit that I always put in, I just want to say a really big thank you to the returning visitors, the people that have been part of the channel all the way through. Thank you for your ongoing support. If you're new to the channel, I do hope that you will stick around, and I wish everybody a really happy, abundant, blessed 2025. And I also wanted to explain to you, I know that for some people the year hasn't started in the best way that they would have liked, especially if you're watching the news. Now, what you'll find as you continue to stay with my channel is I will generally not make a reference to the sad stuff or the bad stuff that we see on news. And this is not about being in denial, but rather there is so many videos and so much content out there that does focus on this kind of stuff that I would like my channel to put the focus on the positive, or at the very least give a balance and give you, the listener or the watcher, whatever, something else to focus on, something positive, somewhere else to put your attention. From my perspective, I approach seeing some of these stark things in the news as being aware that it's happening, seeing it, observing it, parking it, because it's outside of my control. There is nothing that I can do about what is happening in the news. All that I can do is focus on my responses, how I react to it, and that is just, it is what it is. I can't change it. I can pray, or I can call upon the Creator, whatever way you choose to focus your positive energy. I can do that kind of stuff, but focusing energetically on what is, and I use quotation marks here, wrong in the world, just sends more energy and towards that situation. So I would rather just acknowledge it, see it, let it go, refocus my attention and energy on the positive. And for me, New Year's Eve is always going to be really positive. Of course, we're now on January the 5th, so New Year's Eve has come and gone, but we're still in that early stage of 2025 where we've got choices. The beginning of any new year, from where I sit, is a wonderful opportunity for manifestation. It's obviously very important. So that's where we actually get that opportunity to expand upon our creativity and our gifts, and to be able to create our life going forward. I won't go too far down that. Just right now, I'm going to reiterate, I wish you a very bountiful, joyous, abundant 2025. Now, for those of you that are new to the channel, or if you've been a subscriber for a while but you haven't watched the yarning, you might not be aware that I have been encouraging people for the last weeks, pretty well over the month of December, to connect with the Angel of Blessings and ceremony as part of raising their energy and their maximizing the manifestation potential for 2025, because it's when we come to these big times of the year, such as Christmas, New Year's Eve, Easter. I'm not sure what all the religious celebrations are and that kind of thing. But when you have these kinds of love-filled celebrations, or that are steeped in love, and you've got a lot of people en masse across the globe coming together to celebrate, that becomes group energy. So basically, those are the times that you would call on the Angel of Blessings. Now, it's not too late, right? So, of course, I encourage people to do it before New Year's Day, recommending that people do it on New Year's Eve. It is not too late. Just because New Year's Eve has come and gone doesn't mean that you can't actually do a ceremony or blessings now. I'm going to give you some tips in a minute, because at the end of the day, the energy is still high towards that. So the idea is basically that before we do the ceremony, we have a bit of a reflection. We look back over the last 12 months, what worked, what didn't work, and we then create this ceremony of what we want to see more of in the new year. Now, I'm going to give you an example of it because I am the same as anybody, really. I guess perhaps sometimes I'm probably even a bit worse. I do tend to procrastinate. So what I found was I just managed to squeeze in my own ceremony before New Year's Day. But at the same time, I say that I left it until the last minute. Not quite. Almost, but not quite. What I did find is that in the weeks up to, because I knew that I would be doing a ceremony, I found myself reflecting on a lot of things coming into my mind, so that when I actually sat down and did my ceremony, it actually really only took me about half an hour to do, which is more than I would normally do, by the way. It's just I hadn't done my list. So I'm going to explain to you how I did it. Now, of course, I'm not going to give you all the details of what I actually did when I did it, because, of course, that becomes the personal stuff. If you know anything about manifestation, the idea is that you actually keep what it is that you're trying to manifest quiet. You keep it to yourself as you energize it, because it's about maximizing the potential. Of course, the dog decides. That'll be my little Toby. He has decided that right now is the time to play with his squeaky toy. Moving on. Anyway, as I said, what I found, particularly over the last week coming towards New Year's Eve, was I had a lot of stuff going through my head. If I sat down and I took a break, then I would remember events, situations, people, that kind of thing. So when it came to doing my ceremony, I was able to sit down with a pen and paper. Now, to put this into perspective for you, what you would do is, when you're doing your list one, it's about being grateful, I guess. You start in gratitude and you end in gratitude. So on my list of what worked well, which is just who am I thankful for? So there were names of people that I was able to write down. And then there were situations that I was able to write down. Now, I've been public about the fact that I've been doing tarot and tea nights, which I actually thoroughly enjoy. It's an opportunity, if I can speak, opportunity to practice my gifts in ways that are beneficial to other people. So I was able to put that activity down as a prime example. It's something that's emotionally rewarding and emotionally fulfilling, and something that I feel good about right now. So I know that that will be something that I want to work towards over the next 12 months, and something that I will want to increase. When we come to the names of supportive people, say, they're the people I want to keep in my life. They're the relationships that I want to keep happening. If they're very positive, then I might want to grow those relationships. And, hopefully, obviously we can't control other people, but hopefully that's reciprocated. So there's a couple of people that are actually new into my circle that I will definitely be following up with over the next 12 months. And those people, if you look at your friendship circles, I've got a video up about that. Some people come in, they don't always stay in. Sometimes they stay for a little while and then sometimes they move out. But certainly I want to explore the opportunity for friendships with some of these new people that have come in. And there are people that have been in for a while that I want to retain and keep those relationships. Then on the other hand, there is the stuff of, okay, what didn't work well? If we're going to talk about what worked well, we've got to acknowledge, as I said with the New Year's energy, what doesn't work well, and what might be areas of improvement. Now, of course, I focused most of this on relationships, but it can be your own personal behaviours. It can be things like if you're emotionally reactive, if you find yourself sobbing all the time, if you're a person that overthinks and is less active, or a person that acts before thinking, they're behaviours that you'll want to change. So that's about repatterning. So anyway, what I did on my second list was I wrote down what's not working very well. That can be the names of unsupportive people. Now, they can actually be family members, just so you know, and that can be people that you either want to step away from completely, or you just want to step back from and not really have a lot of time with them going forward. You don't have to cut people off, but you can actually decide that you're going to be too busy to spend time with them in 2025, or be very limited with the contacts, because some of these relationships, they're not ones that you can just cut off and dump, it can just be, I love you, but I prefer to love you from a distance, that kind of thing. So then, of course, there are the activities that we do that are time wasters. Now, I'm trying to think, I can't think of an example right now, but I've got plenty of them that I can share with you that I do. And they are behaviours, and that's about time management. So for me, it's looking at those things, evaluating what works and what doesn't. As I said, I do tend to procrastinate. I put things off to the last minute quite a lot, and that would be something that I want to change going forward. I would rather be, jump in, more passionate, more enthusiastic, I guess. Emotional reactions, as I mentioned, they could be things that we want to let go of as well. So they're things, once we work out what works, what doesn't, okay, there are some things that we will want to change. There are some things that we will want to let go of. There are some things that we will want to build, right? And so I break it down. So this is just an idea of how you would do it. Now, it sounds complex, but as I said, when I sat down and did it, it probably, I don't know, took me about 20 minutes to knock this together to get an idea of prioritizing for 2025. So, yes, anyway, so you wouldn't really do step 5 here, which is the visualization and where we step into manifestation. We would actually do this list and then go into the manifestation ceremony itself. So this is basically where you go into step 5. So I've done all that thinking, and then I sit down, I write my list of what it is that I'm going to be looking forward to build. And then I go into that visualization stage. Now, just so that you know, and you may do this differently, and please do feel free to put up how you approach it. But for me, I will invoke the angels when I'm doing it, and always the creator first. And I will then actually formalize. I do believe it's better if you're able to say this in the verbal or spoken word, but that's not always possible for everybody. So basically, you then, and actually, let's be real, you don't actually need to use your voice to speak and communicate with spirit, but whatever. I would then start from that space of gratitude, because I would have condensed it and summarized it down to what am I grateful for? I'm grateful for the blessings, the friendships, blessings seen and unseen, all of that stuff, blessings to the left, right, whatever. But before I would get into doing that invocation, I would actually set the table and set the scene. And when I do that, I like to draw on the 4 elements, okay? And in case you're not aware, the 4 elements is obviously wind, water, fire, and earth, okay? Now, if you're going to set up a table as I did, then one of the ways I draw water in is actually through having a humidifier, or if you've got one of those tea light candle holders where you put your essential oils with water in the top, or it could be a bowl of floating candles. That's another way of bringing water in. And in that way, you're actually combining, if that bowl there was made of earth or terracotta or whatever, just in that bowl of floating flowers, you've got the earth, you've got fire, and you've got water, all in that one little image that I've got there. I, of course, put my crystals out. I do burn some incense, and I like to have a candle lit. What else can I give you a tip with my little ceremony? Just once I've done that, once I've lit the candles and got everything ready, creating that environment, I then allow myself a holy space, if you like, where I will focus the energy, call upon the creator, call upon the angels. As I said, I always start with gratitude. I'm coming up to a really big tip here that's very, very important, okay? Not everybody knows this. And I've actually had people get really shocked and go, oh my goodness, it just makes sense once I tell them. Just a moment, I need to clear my throat, sorry. So I will then, do that invocation and then state my intention of what I hope to achieve over the next 12 months. Now, whatever it is that you're hoping to achieve, this is the big tip, right? You don't, in your mind's eye, you would not be seeing yourself running around chasing after what it is that you're seeking. So let's say that you are attempting to manifest money, which is obviously a very common thing for many people. They will see themselves running around, perhaps to banks and doing withdrawals and stuff like that, as part of their manifestation process. But that's actually counterproductive, because what that actually is instilling into your entire being is that you've got to go out there and chase it, right? And when we're chasing after something, this carries the energetic idea of lack. When we are manifesting, the idea is that you see it come to you under grace in the divine way. So rather than you running to the bank, right, you just see yourself in a shower of abundance, if you like, where the coins are coming in or the checks are coming in or emails notifying you of amounts that have been paid into your bank balance, stuff like that. That's how you manifest, is seeing it occurring. And then the next thing is to actually see yourself and what life looks like after you've actually received those blessings. So let's say if you were trying to manifest money, very simple point here, see the emails notifying you that funds have been paid into your account, and then see yourself spending it on what it was you desired. So, excuse me, I've got to sorry, got to clear my throat again. I hope I'm not coming down with a cold, because there's some people around me that have got colds. Anyway, going back to the manifestation process, right? So let's say that as part of your invocation ceremony at the beginning of the year, you said that you wanted to buy yourself a car, but you needed to manifest X dollars for it to happen. So then in your visualization, you're going to see that money coming to you, and then you're going to see that car that you wanted or that you're aiming to buy. You're going to see yourself driving it somewhere, or receiving it, going in and collecting it or whatever. So these are just ways that you can enhance your manifestation process. But anyway, enough of that. The video will get very long. I'm going to jump straight into now the channel update. So, of course, as always, I continue to make these crystal videos that I'm loading on the channel. In many ways, I've mentioned it before, but if you're new to the channel, you might not be aware of it. This has awoken the little gremlin inside of me by doing this channel, where I become a collector and gatherer. And because my crystal collection had become depleted over the years, shall we say, and I kind of feel obligated that if I'm going to be talking about a crystal again, then I need to refresh and remind myself of what that feels like, especially if we're talking from a metaphysical purpose. So suffice to say, I've been spending some cash trying out some crystals. I say this as in, part of me I'm not really impressed about it, but part of it I actually really like getting the crystals because I'm a crystal lover, okay? So anyway, this week has been very productive for me. I've had a few more deliveries. I have had my Realgar tower arrive. I've taken some photos of it. I'll probably put that up next week. Sorry, I've got the coughs really bad. I don't know if it's the season. It could be the season, a mixture of hay fever. Anyway, my Realgar has arrived. It's absolutely stunning. I was so excited when I saw it. Also, I have ordered some seraphinite that is coming directly from Russia, and I've just been informed this morning that it's been put in the post today and got the tracking number, which I'm rather impressed about, that I can actually even receive it and that I can communicate with them. But I'm really looking forward to that as well. I don't think it'll be a big bit. What else can I say? I will look to put up photos of my stuff perhaps next week, especially the new buys, because then I can actually enhance and expand on my buying tips and explain to you, certainly with the tower, which I'm not unhappy about, there could have been better ways to advertise this. I'll leave it like that. I've bought it. I'm happy with it. There were some surprising factors with it. Not all good, not all bad. I still think I got it at a fair price for what I've got. But I will give some tips on what would have been nice as a buyer to see before I actually outlined the money for it. Did I say outlined? Outlaid. Anyway, moving on. So this week, as far as the content update goes, Charoite was loaded. Now, Charoite is another Russian crystal. Quite interesting. A lot of really beautiful stuff and very rare stuff comes out of Russia, and Charoite is one of them. Well, anyway, that video has been loaded, so you'll be able to access that one on the crystal playlist. Now, Amethyst I have loaded, but the thing is, when I say that I've loaded it, it's a very long video, and Amethyst you could actually talk on and on and on about because it's such an amazing and versatile crystal. And it comes in so many shapes. It's actually quite durable, so it's made into a lot of different forms. and there's a multitude of ways that a person could actually use it to maximize the metaphysical properties of the crystal. So there's no way I would ever be able to do justice to the amethyst videos where I'm going. But what I have done is spoken about the amethyst flower on there. And going forward at some point in the future, I will talk about how I was able to use amethyst flower for healing purposes, and just some activities that have been shared with me by other crystal practitioners. Now, Tiger Eye is to be loaded next week. Now, I've got to say, well, it's scheduled already, ready to be published. That was an eye opener for me. I absolutely love Tiger Eye. I've always been around it. I've always had it because basically it was on the ground where I was growing up. Very easy to find, and every house seemed to have a piece. But where I'm going with this is I've never actually looked into the mineral properties of Tiger Eye to the extent that I did with this video. And it's kind of reshaped how I look at Tiger Eye. I still love it, absolutely love it. But recommend you watch the video to see what I'm talking about. I'm still in the process of recording the Ametrine video because I've been doing a lot of the transcript. Now, just a tip here, okay, because what I have come to is that this is actually a very misunderstood crystal. It's I'm just thinking how to put this. It's called ametrine because somebody said that it was a mixture between purple amethyst and citrine. Now, what I have learned is that even the gemologists say this. These are supposedly the experts are saying that ametrine is a mix of amethyst and citrine together in the one point. It's an absolutely stunning crystal, by the way, and it's one that I love. However, right, through my explorations, I have learned that it is not a mix of amethyst and citrine. It is actually a mix of purple amethyst and what is called, and I can't pronounce this, so I'm open to correction, ferruginous quartz or something like that. It's iron, okay? It's the iron that creates the yellow. Now, I don't think this is one of the sources of frustration for me as a crystal lover and somebody who's actually grounded and practical. Obviously, these people that have decided to market ametrine as being a mix of citrine and amethyst, I would say originally in the first instance didn't realise because it does look like citrine. But I would imagine at some point in time they must all know that it's not citrine because it's been tested and proven to be iron. That they have maintained this myth about it being citrine. The whole point is that actually citrine's an amazing crystal in itself, and I absolutely love it. But when you actually look at the metaphysical properties of iron, this is not something to be hidden. I actually think this is something that is actually really great for ametrine and probably explains why it is such, or it is, what is the word, attributed to hold such amazing, powerful energies, is actually through the inclusion of iron. Not necessarily, well, obviously it's not citrine because it doesn't have it in it, but that's just a bit of a tip for you, and I will be talking about that later on today. I'm going to record that video. It's not uploaded. I'll be doing that later today. I'm just going to leave this slide up for now. This is basically just to remind you guys that there is another video. It's on a playlist. I think it's, oh my gosh, what playlist is it? I can't remember. I'll tag it in the link anyway. But this is about, when it comes to health, quite often there's, well, I shouldn't say, if we're talking about the metaphysical, there's always an emotional or thought cause behind a physical ailment. That could be a whole conversational video in itself. But the idea is that if we ignore this, this comes from Louise Hay's line of thought, this quote. I want to credit her when I say this, that when we talk about disease, it is not disease, it is dis-ease. So it's about discomfort. And when we unpack the discomfort and look at the root cause, then we're able to release that root cause. Now, theoretically, that lends itself to this belief that we can actually heal any physical condition by looking at our thoughts. Now, I want to make the point here that while I have a belief with that, I certainly do believe that that's true to a level. There are other times where I would say, look, I do believe it's part of a person's divine plan to actually be born with a specific condition and to rise above it. These are the disabilities people are born with, or whatever. And you can have, in my experience, you can have a chronic health condition, but not have that impede your spiritual growth because, well, not excessively, I don't think. Just being a bit careful here about what I say and how I say it. Basically, I do have a thyroid condition, and that can be a blocker as far as psychic medium and spiritual activity goes. But when I say a blocker, it doesn't mean that it stops you and shuts you down. What it means is that I have had to work harder to develop those gifts than probably the average Joe. And then, of course, I've got a granddaughter that has been born with an allergy to protein. Well, actually, it's not an allergy. She just can't process it. She's got what's called PKU. So that's a genetic condition. It's not like she had to think while she was in the womb thinking, you know what, I think I'm uncomfortable with having protein. She was born that way. Now, that is an incurable condition, but what you can do is learn to live with it and learn to manage the other symptoms. So the other symptoms are about processing of nutrients, absorption, cellular regeneration, all of that kind of stuff, okay? So theoretically, we could apply, I say theoretically, we could apply the crystal treatments, the energy treatment for her to help her live a quality of life within the fact that she actually has PKU. I don't know, but it's worth a shot. What are your thoughts? Do let me know. Can't just be, I say that facetiously, but that is a genuine invitation, a genuine call out to you. If you're aware of people that have got conditions and you recommend crystals to them, or you know that they use crystals, let us know how that worked for them. Did they notice any obvious changes or any benefits? Things like that. We'd all be interested. Now, before I close out for today, because obviously I'm trying to keep these videos short, just a reminder, there are a number of playlists that are up there for you to take a look at and leave your feedback about, or if you've got questions, ask them, because there's going to be more people than me that can actually answer the questions. I might not be able to answer them anyway if it's outside of my experience, but there are a number of playlists there. Now, I did forget to mention, so this is a reminder for me, when I was talking about the crystals and how my little gremlin inside that collector-gatherer has been raised up. I have actually made an appointment to go and see somebody that is a crystal wholesaler, a local one, supplies all of the retailers locally. Now, years ago, if you're aware of this, I used to sell crystals, and we're going back to, I think, goodness me, maybe 2011, 2012. Anyway, I wasn't even sure if the place was owned by the same people, but such a bizarre story. I thought, you know what, I'm going to go in there, take a look at some of the crystals, check out and see if it's still owned by the same person. But what I did was I was actually a little bit lazy. I ended up phoning the establishment to see if it's still the same owners, because I thought if it's changed hands, don't know if I want to go and visit them. There's a lot of people out there that really exploit the crystal buyers. But anyway, long story short, of course, I recognised her voice after all these years, and I went, oh, I was phoning you up. Because I wasn't sure if it was still owned by the same people, but I can tell from your voice straight away it is. And of course, she reintroduced herself. I reintroduced myself. And she said, oh, come on down. When I said to her, look, I haven't bought anything for years, but or been selling, I said, but I must admit that, I'm tempted to get back into the market. I've got to explore it a little bit further locally. But look, honestly, where crystals are concerned, I actually just love handling them, and I would be happy to buy them and just, be that conduit that actually filters it out to other people. Now, before anybody turns around and goes, oh, so this is what you do in the playlist. Actually, no, it's not. I've started out doing the crystal playlist because I wanted to share information with people. And I still do. But what I find is the more I actively get back into the crystals and building my collection, the more I actually, I'm sorry about this if you're an online retailer, the more I want to actually say to people, look, stop selling online, stop buying online. You know, the benefits are there that if you actually go into a facility, that's where you find the crystals that speak to your heart, shall we say. Buying online, um, it's just, I can't even explain it. It is risky as far as, are you going to be ripped off? But it's just, you miss out on all of that energy, feeling, and sensation that you get, that you would have if you're able to go into a shop or a premise yourself. You get that social connection, but you also get the buzz. I know this sounds terrible. It is a bit addictive, okay, but you do get a buzz from walking around and being in a crystal premise. So yeah, I will always recommend attending a retailer or an outlet to buy your crystals, because you can also hold it in your hand as part of your selection process than I would to online. Now, so hopefully that will actually help people relax about when I say, well, look, I am tempted to go and buy it. I'm not ever going to get super rich off it because I won't be selling it online. It's as simple as that. I will not, because it just doesn't feel right to me. And the other thing is, too, that it would be postage prohibitive to send the items overseas. I might recommend that, at some point in time, if people want to buy, I might let them know of a source or a retailer that I've bought from, perhaps like the Russian guy where I've bought the Seraphonite from. I shouldn't say Russian because he's actually Ukrainian. But anyway, moving on. So look at that. We are half an hour in on this chitter chatter anyway. So I'm going to close out, so it's not going to be too long a video for you. I'm going to say thank you very much for being part of my journey. If you've stuck in this far, go you. Hats off to you. Once again, I'm going to say happy 2025. Good luck with your little ceremony. Let me know if you gave it a shot and how it felt for you, and we can come back and revisit down the track. I just remembered as well, I forgot to mention in this video, remember I've done the numerology forecasts. You can find them on the playlist as well. So in the meantime, I'm going to say love you, leave you, take care, have a wonderful, blessed day, blessed week. Catch you on the next video. Bye-bye for now.